Countdown Conspiracy, Chapter 10, Part 1. For 3 days, I bury myself in spaceplane work. Mary and Michael call almost hourly, and I pretend I don't get service in the hangar. For 3 days, I weld pieces of our ship together, using the hypnotizing light of the molten metal to forget that we have zero idea of when any of us will see our families again. For 3 days, security agents guard me. They stand awkwardly in Ambassador's half-built chambers, ignoring Ruby as she occasionally crawls straight over them to her next task. And for 3 days, I managed to avoid almost every single person at the training base. But Lizzie has caught up to me today. She sits at our dorm's touch table, directly between me and my bedroom door. There is no escape. So, she drums her fingers along the table edge. I sit in my chair, unwilling to look her away. After a moment of intense staring, Lizzie unrolls her tablet and slides it across the table to me. Faulty timer. Faulty timer? I ask. Read it, Lizzie instructs. I pull Lizzie's tablet closer and press the edges of it flat against the table. It's a full analysis of the helicopter explosion. I scan past the rundown of the trace chemicals until I get to the mechanical overview. And there it is. Conclusion. Detonation timer improperly synced. Explosion occurred 1 hour 24 minutes earlier than intended. My face stays neutral, but inside I feel sick. It was definitely meant for me then. Well, Lizzie starts. I wonder if she's going to try to tell me that the explosion could have been meant for anyone on board the helicopter during the time it was supposed to take us back to the main island. But then, I'd say yes, probably. I stiffen. Why are you telling me this? Because you have a right to know what the evidence is piling up to suggest, Lizzie replies. You aren't a baby. You're 13. You're training to be an astronaut, and you're one of the smartest people on the planet. No, I'm not. I push her tablet back at her. Lizzie frowns, leaning forward in her chair. What do you mean you're not? I cross my arms. I'm not the smartest. I shouldn't be here. Everyone knows it. I'm just here because the United States had too much influence and forced the ISECG to take me. And that's probably why I'm being targeted. Everything I say bites into me, chipping away at the emotion wall I've managed to build over the past 3 days. Honestly, it'd be better for everyone if I left, but I trail off, unable to finish the thought without my wall collapsing. Lizzie's eyes are steady. But what? But I can feel a lump forming in my throat. I swallow. I spent 3 days blocking out the paranoia and guilt. 3 days staying numb. Lizzie waits patiently, and sure enough, being forced to talk about it completely demolishes my wall. I don't want to leave, I gasp as a panicked sob escapes me. I want to go to Mars. Even if I'm not meant to be here, if I'm not the best, I don't want to lose this. It's everything I've ever dreamed of. But if people are dying because of me and my stupid dream, then maybe it isn't worth it. Lizzie slams a hand down on the touch table. Okay, that's it. She stands up and pulls me up with her. Come on. She starts walking, leaving the common room. I've never heard her voice this stern before, and my feet automatically follows her. We walk through the hallways at a brisk pace. She grabs her parka out of a closet and tosses me mine as well. Bewildered, I put it on. Where are we going? Come on, is all she says in reply. I'm not sure how long we're going to be, so I message Ruby her power down code. From my room, she messages back her confirmation. 10-4, astronaut Regent. Cover up my toilet, hoping Lizzie doesn't see the new cheesy confirmation code I programmed Ruby to send me in a pathetic attempt to make myself feel better. But Lizzie isn't looking at me. She's opening the door to the outside. I follow her, zipping up my coat. As we exit, 2 security agents immediately begin tailing us, as I've become used to whenever I leave the main building. The only reason they've got glued to me while in the main building as well is because of all the bomb-sniffing dogs and armed guards that patrol the halls in there all day, every day. I have to jog to keep up with Lizzie's pace. It's clear straight away that we're going to the hangar, but I have no idea what Lizzie could possibly have to show me in there. I've practically lived there since the attack. We enter the hangar. Lizzie's still leading the way, but instead of going down the hall to the right like I normally do, she turns and goes left toward the offices. Now my curiosity is sparked even more. The guards position themselves at the door to the office we head into, and Lizzie stops by a quadrangular arrangement of empty desks, smacking her hand against a clipboard on the wall. The log sheet? I ask, staring up at the paper on the clipboard. Lizzie takes the board off the wall and pushes it at me. You like data, don't you? Well, here's some for you. A record of productivity for the past 3 months of spaceplane work. Notice anything about the numbers for the last 3 days? I flip through the log sheet, scanning the numbers. When it hits me, my eyes widen. Exactly, Lizzie says. Ever since you've been assigned as lead flight engineer and have started to work on the spaceplane, productivity has, to coin a phrase, skyrocketed. She smiles at me. Everyone's talking about it, much more than they're talking about any connection between you and the attacks. Not a single person doubts that you're meant to be here. But I read through the numbers again, making sure I understand them right. Sure enough, things have really begun moving along ever since I joined the engineering team. Still, though, I did worse than everyone else on the exams, remember? Lizzie takes the clipboard from me and hangs it back up. Yeah, but do you see any of the other cadets down here, day in and day out, working on this space plane? Do any of them have a working mech bot that is already being fitted for thrusters? I flush. So she knows I've been outfitting Ruby for space travel. Lizzie smiles again. Miranda, you were chosen to be here for really, really good reasons. Not because you're American. Not because of anything political. You were picked because we need someone like you. I try to process this. So you'd better not quit on us. Lizzie pokes me in the shoulder. Whatever's going on with these attacks and threats, you can't let them get to you. You're going to be a great astronaut. I nod slowly. No quitting, Lizzie repeats, poking me again. Got it? I look up at her. But what if you do? Lizzie's eyebrows furrow. What are you talking about? The clipboard behind her is still swaying slightly on its nail, rocking back and forth. I clench my fist, forcing myself to plow on. I heard you and Mr. Burnett talking. You said the ISS-2 has a leak and needs help, and that you'd rather go and help them than stay here with us. Lizzie's eyebrows pinched together even harder. Miranda, no. That's not at all what I meant. Then what did you mean? Starting to shake. With everything else going on, I thought I'd gotten past this. It shouldn't be this big of a deal. But somehow it is, and I can't reason myself out of it. Lizzie sighs. For a solid minute, she says nothing, and we stand in silence in the empty office space. Eventually, she sits down in someone's chair and puts her chin in her hands. I think we're too similar sometimes. Out of anything I was expecting her to say, it wasn't that. What? I take a step back and knock into another chair. It rolls into its desk. Lizzie spins to face me square on. Miranda, the ISS-2 does need a repair crew. And yes, I could help them. I'm trained. I'm ready. And it would be faster just to send me up there rather than get people with less experience ready for the task. But they aren't sending me. You know why? I shake my head. Because the International Space Station is a team effort, and I've pulled a lot of the weight on that team for too long, she explains. If I don't step back and let others learn, then what happens when I'm too old to fly anymore? Who will take my place? Just because I can do it all doesn't mean I should. What I should be doing is passing my knowledge on to the next generation, which is why I'm here with you. I frown. But it'd be so much more efficient if you just took a month off from here and went and did the repairs. Lizzie laughs. Yes, yes, it would. Have you explained that to them? Tell them you're fine with you going for a while as long as you come back. Maybe then they'll see. Miranda, Lizzie cuts me off. The decision is already made, and I'm okay with it, really. I open my mouth to argue again, but maybe once you're my age, you'll understand. Lizzie gets up from her chair and cracks a half smile. It took me this long, after all. Back in my room, I'm getting another lecture, but this one's from thousands of miles away. Honestly, Regent, instead of working on that space plane, you should try and figure out who's attempting to assassinate you, Sasha says. I think that takes priority. He crosses his arms, taping a wrench against his t-shirt. I settle back, getting comfortable as Sasha goes into one of his rambles. Next to me, Ruby nudges me with one of her spidery arms, attempting to get me back on task. We'd been working together on her new shielding when Sasha called, and Ruby isn't programmed to handle interruptions very well. Clearly, the people officially in charge of the investigation are doing a terrible job of it, Sasha continues. The Miranda I know wouldn't sit back and take that. He points his wrench toward the camera, shaking it. You're not going to try to solve this mystery? Then you give me no choice but to solve it for you, and I know you'd hate it if I did it before you did. His gaze is challenging, but there's a touch of concern in his eyes that I'm not used to seeing. I straighten up. Like you'd really be able to figure it out from halfway across the world? He recrosses his arms. I could. No way, I let out an unimpressed laugh, and next to me, Ruby mimics the motion, bobbing up and down. I have literally every advantage in this situation. Then what's stopping you? I lean forward, getting another retort ready, and Ruby leans with me, but I can't think of anything to say. What is stopping me? My mind churns. Mr. Burnett knows something, I muse. I think, at least. He let it slip that someone around here might be involved, but he wouldn't tell me any more than that. Break into his office, Sasha suggests. Look for clues. I shake my head. There are way too many guards wandering around. I'd definitely be noticed. Though, an idea strikes me. Maybe we could break into his files. I thought you said Burnett was a programming professional. Since when can you hack professionally encrypted files? Sasha raises his eyebrows. I can't, but I know someone who can. I exhale. I've got everyone sitting around in one of our study rooms. Okay, so I start awkwardly looking at the 5 cadets. I've brought everyone together because I wanted a chance to apologize. Tamaki stops tossing his solar cell. What are you apologizing for? Esteban frowns. First, for messing up our first practical exam, I say. Esteban opens his mouth to argue, but I cut him off. Really, I was too caught up in the moment and trying to prove myself. I'm sorry I just ended up ruining it for everyone. No one says anything, so I continue. Second, I'm sorry that we're all stuck here. I know that I'm being targeted by someone. I'm really, really sorry that this delayed everyone's visit home, and especially sorry for putting you guys in danger. I look at Esteban and Anna in particular. No, Najma says. I blink at her, startled.